guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we're talking about this 5-tier cake that I did. It actually has a cutout so you can actually see through the entire cake, and it is a brand new concept to the whole cake industry. And I'm so excited today to tell you about just some tips and tricks that I wish I knew before I had taken on this project. And if you haven't already, hit that like and subscribe button and let's get started. Okay, so for the beginning of this cake, I want to tell you that you can see right here where it's a 5-tier cake, but I'll tell you right now, not all of it is real cake. 3 of the tiers, like you see here, that were the top of the cake, were actually made out of styrofoam. So just like this, as you can see, we did a 6, 8, 10, and the real cake was 12 and 14. I started off just by icing up the first one, covering it in fondant, and letting that one be. Okay, so for the 8 and 10 inch, just get your styrofoam, and I measured about how wide I wanted to start with. So just like the diameter of how much I wanted just to cut out. And then with that, I just eyeballed it and just with a Sharpie just gave out like a fake, just a vague outline of where I want it to go. One thing that you really want to make sure of is just like right in here, leaving enough room for the support of the styrofoam to make sure that it's gonna hold up this top tier. After I had cut that out, I just went back through and completely just iced it over in buttercream. I started with actually the inside. You would think that I would start with the outside, icing it around the cake, but I didn't. I actually started with the inside and just got my cake scraper and just kept going over it. Okay, so after I have them iced over and the way I want them cut and everything, then I'm ready to cover them in fondant. So the way I started, so I covered them over in fondant, just draped it over, and I actually did not cover the inside. So when I cut it, I just like cut around it, so I wasn't getting the inside. That was a completely separate piece that I wanted to make sure that it was just one solid just piece by itself. After I finished covering these two, I actually let this one harden overnight, and then the following day I took that one, flipped it upside down, and then I laid my other piece of fondant in it. Just the last thing you want is for it to be that still soft fondant and it to be completely ruined when you flip it over. One more thing. Before I had actually put this one on, I vaguely marked a light little indent of about where the center was in this one. So just to like know where it was. So before I added these gold accents, I put the rose in. I went just to Hobby Lobby, picked out a bunch of different kinds of roses just because I don't know when I was cutting it how big it was, the hole was gonna be. And the last thing you want is a rose that is too more bloomed than the other ones, and then it looks really cramped in the little hole, and yeah, that's not gonna look great. So I would suggest just getting a different couple kind of roses and figure out which one works best for you and your cake. So after I put my rose in, I actually put a small piece of hot glue and just to make sure it was not going to go anywhere. After I had my piece of fondant in, then I flipped it back over, put it back on top of this one, the bottom one, and then just did a rough cut around it. Doesn't really matter, just in the beginning. And then with an X-Acto blade, I actually went back, I actually cut at an angle going into the cake. So as you can see, like I cut around, like going inside. It doesn't have to be 100%, like you want it to look nice, but at the same time, you don't need to spend all your time doing that part. And just because you're going to be covering up 90% of it, with the gold accents. Then I actually moved on to the fondant golden accents. I actually got 3 different types of molds, as you can tell. I bought all of these on Amazon. I'll link them in the description below. For the very top right here, I just mostly used this one, and then I filled in around the edges using this larger one in the middle right here, as you can see. And for this one, I used the top one right here, and for these 2 sides, I actually used this one. You might not think so, but I actually went back and I cut right here with my X-Acto, and then just lightly pushed it inside to make it look more magical and everything. And for this one little bottom piece right here is just this one right here. When I finished that, I actually went and cut out about 2 half pans of the gold leaves. I did small, medium, and large. I did about 20 to 30 of each one, and then went back over and I painted all of them gold. For the paint, I actually used this gold luster dust. The brand is called Ideal. It is really great. I cannot recommend this product enough. It just comes out so beautiful and like shimmery and gold-like. It is amazing. Not sponsored, by the way, but love this product. It also comes in a big enough bottle that it's gonna be enough for your entire cake. Week of the actual cake, I just did a 3-layer vanilla cake, and like I said, I did a 12 and 14 inch. Just put them on the board, iced them over like usual. For the bottom of the board, I actually did a 24 inch wooden board to make sure that it was not gonna crack under pressure. And mostly I just wanted that extra room because I was gonna go back over and cover it in fondant, and it makes it look just so much like take it to the extra level when it just all blends in with the board and the cake and everything. So moving forward, I covered all those in fondant. Took this mold again after I'd covered it in fondant, and just made a bunch of these and stuck it all around my cake. Took this same gold dust and went back over and painted it over. Next, for the last bottom layer, I actually used just this little square. It's about maybe like 1.5 inches, maybe 2 inches wide, and just marked it, just going around my cake, just leaving little indents about where I wanted to start my quilting pattern. And then I just got my little tool. This one has just little indents along it. You can use a little straight one if you want, as you can see. And just went back over and quilted all of it. Usually, if you're not that comfortable with it, I would suggest like going over more with the more squares, and to make sure that your lines are more even. For this one, I actually made 8 of these. Popped them in the mold real quick, took them out, painted them over, and put those around my cake. And that was pretty much it for the whole cake process. For the next step was, honestly, this was the most challenging part, I will tell you right now, was actually the transporting, because I was the only one that transported this cake. So making multiple trips, because I had this one in one trip and then the other 2 cakes in different 2 little trips, just going up, down elevators, and yeah, that whole thing. Anyways, after I had everything where I needed it to be, I got 9 dowels, cut it to the sides that I wanted it, stuck them in my cake, and did that for the bottom, and then I put another 9 in the golden middle one. And then that one, just stuck that one on top, the fake one, and it was honestly really, really heavy at this point. But that's okay. Went back, and as you can see, I did a border. I just piped a really quick border around it. I used a size 3 tip. If you want, you can use a size 4. I normally don't go over that, just usually try to stay between 3 and 4. And then we got the roses. I ordered 3, so for this cake I ordered 3 dozen roses, white roses that I had pre-ordered from the store, and they were looking gorgeous for this cake. I ordered extra just because when you order roses, I only actually used 2 dozen of them, but not all of them were bloomed. So knowing this, I just ordered extra because I didn't know what I was gonna get. I wasn't the one that actually picked up the flowers, and just went through the ones that I could actually use in a vase. In the background you can see I just put it back there with the extra roses. And then also along the cake board I had those extra little leaves, the golden leaves that I had done, and just put that around the cake board. I had actually ordered another 200 white rose petals and just draped it all around the board. I had cut my roses, left about an inch, maybe some of them are shorter. I had covered them, the little stem ends, and the masking tape, and then I was just sticking them all over the cake. Honestly, this is where your expertise as a cake decorator come in. Wherever you think more flowers need to go, then you can just put more flowers there where it looks more aesthetically appealing. With the last minute stuff, I had actually made cupcakes. Yeah, you wouldn't think I had time, but I somewhere squeezed that in there because I had extra cake batter. For the icing, you can see it's kind of pinkish. I actually did a pink champagne icing just with the Swiss buttercream. I actually put half a bottle of pink champagne with a little bit of food coloring, and it was amazing. And I had done some gold splatter paint. If you haven't seen that video, go check it out. I'll link it in the description below. Those were really cute. And then just topped it off with the gold leaves, just really tying it back into the cake. And that was pretty much it. I'll tell you that next week's video is about actually me having to redo these top 3 layers, because when I was driving home and it was crazy and it was 20 degrees outside, and trying to just put this cake in my car and driving down the road, you always get that one crazy person and they just slam on their brakes, and then of course then you slam on your brakes and then the cake goes flying, and it was a process. It was just completely ruined. So having to redo that, yeah, we'll see that next week. And if you love this video, leave a like, a comment, tell me what you guys think, if this video was helpful, and thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.